Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So it is time to start off my Best of Beauty 2020 videos. I usually do a series of 3 videos, starting off with the drugstore, and then I'll do a high-end makeup one, and then I also always love to do a video all about hair, skin, and nails, full of my favorite products for the year 2020. So we're gonna kick it off with the drugstore favorites. Now, when I was putting things together, I noticed that my list was smaller than last year, and I feel like it's because of this year. Honestly, I did not go to drugstores as often as I would have liked to, just due to the situation of the world this year. So my list is kind of short and sweet in some of the categories, but with that being said, I found some incredible products this year that I feel like are so worth checking out if you have not already. These products are things that I've reached for over my high-end products. I have used them consistently. Also, I will have my 2019 playlist linked down below because I don't really like to repeat products if possible. So all of these things are kind of adding on to what I already enjoyed so much from last year that I kept using throughout this year, if that makes sense. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to start off with brows. We'll move into primer, complexion, eyeshadow, everything. So let's just start out with brows. You guys probably know that I'm pretty picky with my brow products. When it came to the drugstore, this duo really floored me this year. Both things are from Milani, so I definitely feel like the Milani Precision Brow Pencil is a real winner in my book. It's actually the brow pencil that I have on my brows today. I purchased the shade Espresso, and then I also set the brows with this right here. So this is the duo. This is the Milani, the Clear Brow Gel is what it's called, and this is exactly what I used in my brows today. I just love how the formula of this is not too waxy, it's not too dry either. It just perfectly fills in my brows. This locks in my brow hairs all day long, and I feel like this duo is definitely worth mentioning this year because for me personally, I have my go-to brow products. So when it comes to finding a drugstore product that competes with my current favorite high-end brow pencil, sometimes it takes a while for me to find something like that, and I truly do feel like this duo right here competes when it comes to the drugstore options. All right, moving on to primer. I absolutely fell in love with this primer right here. This is from Believe Beauty. It's the Radiantly Primed Face Primer. Now, if you guys didn't know, Believe Beauty is from the dollar store. It's from Dollar General. It's an exclusive brand to Dollar General. You guys already know how much I love their foundation. I considered putting it in this video, but it was gonna be a repeat from last year, so just know that I still love that foundation so much. But I discovered this primer this year, and the thing I love about this is it really does give you a glow, kind of lit from within look without looking or feeling too heavy or greasy on the skin. It dries down in a way that really adheres your foundation to the complexion, but it gives you that luminosity that shows through your foundation. I am obsessed with this. I love it so much. So I knew that that was going to be in this video. Another primer that I feel like is just incredible is this one right here from e.l.f. It's the Poreless Putty Primer. Now this is supposed to be similar to the Tatcha Silk Primer. Honestly, it's a little bit different in my opinion. I mean, the concept is pretty much the same. I feel like I honestly reach for this one more than my Tatcha one. This is actually the primer that I used in the T-zone to kind of smooth out the pore area. I don't know what it is about this exactly, but it creates such a beautiful, smooth T-zone that layers underneath foundations so beautifully. I love this. You could totally apply the Believe Beauty primer all over the skin and then focus this on areas that you have larger pores. And I feel like the combo will give you really luminous skin, but still in a flawless way. I feel like this does a good job at smoothing out the pores. And even though it kind of has like a silky texture to it, I don't find that it slips around on me, which is really nice. So those are my 2 favorite drugstore primers of the year. So moving on to foundation. When it comes to foundation, I feel like Colourpop gets a standing ovation. I fell in love with their 2 new formulas that they launched this year, and these are truly my go-to drugstore foundations. So I have 2 shades of this, but I'm just going to show you because I do mix shades in these foundations. This is the Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Tinted Moisturizer. So they launched this first earlier this year, and it really is such a beautiful tinted moisturizer. It's going to give you light to medium coverage, but it wears so nicely all day long on the skin. This was definitely a go-to for me during the colder months and also into spring. I really really loved this so much this year. And then later this year, they also launched the Colourpop Pretty Fresh Hydrating Foundation. Now again, I mixed two shades, but I will have my perfect match listed down below. This, you guys, is such an incredible foundation. This just has to be my favorite affordable foundation, right up there with the Believe Beauty foundation. I feel like it gives such gorgeous coverage to the skin. It balances it out. You guys have seen me use this several times on my channel, but it really does wow me every time I apply it and wear it throughout the day. It has a beautiful, long-wearing power to it, but never looks overdone. I feel like I can use this on an everyday basis and it's just so perfectly balancing. I can also wear it for more glamorous occasions when I want a more full coverage look because the coverage is there. This is hands down my favorite new foundation discovery when it comes to affordable foundations of the year. It's incredible. All right, moving on to concealer, we're gonna keep the Colourpop train going. They launched their Pretty Fresh concealer. Now, I don't know when this launched exactly, but I fell in love with it this year. It works beautifully with the tinted moisturizer and also with the Pretty Fresh foundation. I love the consistency of this concealer. Again, it's gonna look really fresh. It gives just the right amount of coverage, but it's not too drying, which I absolutely love. In fact, I'm kind of noticing that trend when it comes to the concealers that I loved this year. None of these are like mattifying concealers. They're all pretty hydrating. The second one that I wanted to mention is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. This is a gorgeous drugstore find. I know so many of you guys already love this, and it's actually because of you guys that I really started using this in my routine this year, and I have to say it's so stunning underneath the eyes especially. Again, it just has that perfect consistency where it gives the right amount of coverage, but it's not too heavy and it never looks too heavy or crepey underneath the eyes, which is really important. The next concealer formula that I loved this year is from Neutrogena. Now this is the Radiant Cream Concealer. This is by far the most hydrating and dewy concealer out of the ones that are my favorites from the year. So I would definitely recommend this concealer if you like a little bit more of a glowy, hydrated under eye area. And this is definitely one that I would choose for like an everyday no makeup kind of a look. I would probably opt for the e.l.f. one or the Pretty Fresh one for more of a brightened under eye. This still gives really beautiful coverage, but it's gonna be super hydrating, super luminous, which I personally prefer when it comes to like an everyday look. So just a little heads up for that, but it's a gorgeous concealer. Regardless, I have really enjoyed that formula as well. I only have one powder from the drugstore to share, but this is a mighty little powder. This is also from e.l.f. It's the Halo Glow Setting Powder. I personally wear mine in the shade Light. This is actually the powder that I chose to use all over the skin today, and you'll see how it sets the face. Well, maybe you can't see that, but I set the entire face and it still has a gorgeous luminosity to it. That's what I love about this powder. You can use it on its own, and a light layer will just kind of set the concealer or foundation and give it a luminosity, but it's not sparkly, it's not too intense. You can build it up and actually use it as a highlighter if you build it up enough. I don't honestly use it like that as much, but I have tried it that way. Another way I love to use this is if I have another translucent powder all over the skin and I feel like my skin needs a little bit more life, but I still want to keep it set and locked in all day. I'll take a light layer of this and kind of buff it over the skin over top of the translucent powder that I already applied, and it'll kind of act as like a finishing powder and just give you that luminosity back in the skin. This is incredible. Honestly, it's just as good as some of my high-end glowy products like this. I'm in love with it. All right, next up, let's talk about bronzers. So this bronzer is actually one that launched last year, but I hadn't used it enough to know how much I loved it, and I have continued to use it this year, so I wanted to make sure to mention it in this favorites video from the year. This is also from Colourpop. It's their Coconut Beach Bronzer. The reason why I love this is because I am pretty heavy-handed when it comes to bronzers, and this one just seems to work really beautifully for me personally and my skin tone. The formula is beautiful as well, and it has like a matte finish, so it's not going to emphasize any texture. It's stunning. Another one that's kind of an interesting product, but I really did enjoy it this year, is from Revlon. Now this is the Skin Lights Sunlit Glow Powder, and this is technically like a glowy bronzer. I honestly do not really use this on its own, but I do love to layer it on top of bronzers, and I actually applied it on the perimeters of the face today over top of another bronzer that I'll talk about in my high-end favorites video. But this is just a great option option to add to your collection if you're wanting that option of being able to transform your matte bronzers into something a little more glowy. I personally just love to layer this. It's a little bit too glowy for me to apply it by itself, but it is beautiful on its own if you're into a super glowy kind of bronzer effect. So this next product is actually a face palette, but I thought I would include it in the bronzer category because the bronzer is my favorite part of this palette, even though I love every single bit. This is definitely one of my top discoveries of 2020. So this is from the Lip Bar. It's the Go Off Minute Finish Face Palette, and I have mine in the shade Go Off. I think that's the shade actually. So here's what it looks like. The bronzer in this is incredible. I love it because it kind of has a little bit more of that olivey undertone to it, which is stunning. And that's hard to find something that's a little more olive undertone. If you have fair skin, you might understand that, like, usually when you have fair skin, it's not typical to have an olivey undertone, or it's not typical to find a bronzer that will flatter you with an olive undertone, if that makes sense. This one does that. It is so stunning. By the way, they have so many different versions of this palette, so no matter what skin tone you are, you will find something that will match you perfectly. I highly recommend checking out their website, but the bronzer is incredible. With that being said, I love the entire face palette, and that's another reason why this was such a hit for me this year. It's really difficult for me to find a face palette, and I'm sure you guys are also experiencing this as well, where like you use every single shade, you know? I feel like a lot of face palettes might work for a couple of people, if you know what I mean. So like certain shades work for different skin tones. This is one where I literally can dip into every single shade, and the formulas are beautiful. The highlight in here is beautiful. This under eye powder is amazing, and so is the blush. If you can't tell, I really am obsessed with this, and it's one of my favorite finds this year, honestly. It's beautiful. All right, let's talk about blushes. So this is actually a category that I was kind of shocked that I didn't have more from the drugstore that I fell in love with. But again, I stand behind these products that I'm going to be sharing with you. And if you're a blush person and you want some good blush recommendations, stay tuned for my high-end video of this Best of Beauty series, because it's literally all blushes. So I think that's what happened. I fell in love with a lot of high-end blushes this year, and it left me with just a couple from the drugstore, but these are incredible regardless. So the first ones that I absolutely fell in love with are some cream blushes from Believe Beauty as well, which is that dollar store brand. They launched these 2 colors this year, and I love them. They're so pretty. These are the Color Me Cream Blush. The more mauve color is in the shade Doll Face, which is absolutely stunning. But the one that I really think is special is in the shade Tropical Sunset, and that's this one right here. This was beautiful in the spring and summer. I can't wait to reach for it again. I personally love to find cream formulas that will work and build over a setting powder if needed, because I personally really like to set my entire face, especially in the T-zone, because that's where I get oily. So I prefer to have a blush formula that's gonna build on top of powders nicely and not skip or pick anything up, and I really feel like that's what happened with these. They're gorgeous. It's such a luxurious formula. It's shocking that these are from the dollar store. If you've ever tried Believe Beauty, you'll know what I mean. It's seriously shocking when you finally give the brand a try, because it feels high-end. Seriously, it's amazing. The other blush I wanted to talk about is one that really tickled my heart this year when it launched, and it's a really special blush. So that's why I feel like I definitely wanted to mention it in this yearly favorites video, because if you are a blush lover, I think it's a really fun blush to add to your collection that's a little bit different and unique. So this was from a Colourpop collection. This is the Pressed Powder Blush in the shade Night Bloom. This looks pretty intimidating in the pan, but honestly, when you apply it onto the cheeks, it gives you such a beautiful, fresh kind of complexion effect. I love to take bright blushes like this and actually layer it on top of a more muted blush, if that makes sense. So I'll take like a more natural looking blush, something that kind of just looks like my skin is naturally flushing, and I'll apply it toward the back of my cheeks. Then if I want to layer, I will take a brighter blush like this and just pop it on the apples of the cheeks, and I think it just adds this really fresh effect to the complexion. This is such a fun blush. It's one of my favorites from my collection this year, and again, it just kind of adds something different to my collection, which I really love. All right, I've got two drugstore highlighters that absolutely floored me this year. The first one being the Revlon Skin Light highlighter. So this is the shade Daybreak Glimmer. I believe they have a few shades in this. This is actually a baked formula and I love the color. It gives me like the most beautiful frosty champagne kind of a glow. A little bit goes a very long way with this, as well as the other highlighter that I'm going to talk about, but I really enjoyed this one this year. I really loved the formula. The second one is probably my #1 highlighter discovery this year, drugstore and high-end included, and it's the Catrice Sungasm Face and Body Highlighter. This is massive and it's only $10. I literally don't think I'll ever hit pan on this because you only need the tiniest amount. I'm actually wearing this on the complexion today. My favorite way to wear this because it can get intense quickly, so I like to take a brush and just gently kind of buff it on the areas where I want the highlighter, so on the high points of the face. Then I'll always take my damp sponge that I used with my foundation and just press over it. I feel like when I do that with both of these formulas, it just helps it melt into the skin because they can look a little bit intense if you're not careful. So I feel like pressing it in with a sponge really helps to just melt it into the complexion and they look beautiful. This is definitely another one of my top discoveries this year. All right, moving on to eyeshadows. This is one that I absolutely loved when it came to my everyday routine. This is the Covergirl Exhibitionist Lid Paint. This one is in the shade Coconuts and it is so beautiful as a one and done eyeshadow. I also loved using this as an eyeshadow base. It just gives the perfect kind of taupey tint to the eyes, not too dark, not too light for my complexion at least, and it just made a really good, easy, one and done eyeshadow. I love to just buff it all over the lid and then all over the lower lash line, pop on mascara, and I was good to go. This is amazing and it doesn't crease, which is incredible, especially for me and my eye shape. A lot of cream eyeshadows tend to crease on me, but not that one. This is another one that I wanted to mention because again, it launched last year, but I got so much use out of it this year, and that is the Colourpop Going Coconuts palette. I know so many of you guys probably own this. It is such a beautiful, true neutral palette, but I feel like you can still go pretty glam with this. I like how there's like warm tones in here and also some neutrals. There's not really too many cool tones. Culotta is a little bit of a cool tone shade. I feel like overall it's very balanced when it comes to tones. The shimmers are so buttery in this palette. It's one of my favorite everyday palettes. I seriously, it just was all about neutrals this year. I feel like I kept things pretty simple for the most part. The eyeshadow palette that really just knocked my socks off though is definitely this one from Colourpop. This is the That's Taupe eyeshadow palette. This is actually what I have all over the eyes. I have a little bit of a high-end palette, which I will tell you guys about in the next video in this series, but truly it's mostly this. Like I mostly have this shade all over the lid. I topped it with this Super Shock shadow and that's what the sparkles are. So it's genuinely mostly this. I also used these two shades in the crease. So this is an absolutely amazing palette. I'm obsessed with this palette. If you guys can't tell, it has become my #1 Colourpop palette. It's amazing. I feel like I can get use out of and dip into every single shade, which is another thing that I look for when it comes to eyeshadow palettes, and that is definitely the case with that one. There's a lot of Colourpop in this video, and I feel like it's because I received Colourpop PR, so that's a lot of the affordable makeup that I tried out this year, since I didn't have as many like Walmart drugstore makeup shopping trips. But anyway, I have to give a solid shout out to these from Colourpop. Now these are their Jelly Much eyeshadows. If you're into glitter, you will love these. My favorites that they launched this year were Mystical. Also, I loved Mojave Moves, and I also was obsessed with Sage Bundle. So all of these are great toppers. These are the ones that I got the most use out of this year. I love to just apply them over top of any eyeshadow on the lid, kind of like I did with that Super Shock shadow, and it just makes any eye look so much more special. Also, I wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to the Super Shock shadow called Ice Dream that I used several times on my channel this year, and just found out they discontinued it. And so I'm not going to include it in this video, but I just had to, you know, say it out loud and give thanks to it because Ice Dream Super Shock shadow was an actual dream come true. So I don't know why that happens to me. Don't you guys feel like that? I feel like every time I'm like obsessed with something, they discontinue it. Like, what about the Physicians Formula Healthy Foundation? We're not going to go down that rabbit hole now, but like I'm still upset about that. So the Ice Dream Super Shock Shadow is just gonna sit in my most loved and discontinued makeup vault for the rest of my life. Anyway, let's move on. All right, I've got two new drugstore mascaras that I discovered and fell in love with this year. The first one being one that I discovered because of you guys, and it wasn't until this year that I really gave it a shot. This is actually the mascara that I'm wearing on my lashes. I built it up pretty intensely because I had more of a glam eye, but this is the Maybelline Lash Sensational Mascara. You guys, you are right. This is such a good mascara. I feel like you can really build it up if you want to, and it also works for every day if you're just wanting that light little bit of coverage when it comes to mascara. Amazing, amazing, amazing. I feel like it really does lift the lashes. It builds up beautifully, and it doesn't smudge or flake on me either, which is incredible. Another mascara that I think launched this year, I'm pretty sure it did, and I fell in love with this as well, is the Bambi Eye Mascara. I know so many of you guys love this too. This really does give that fluffy lash effect. So while this one is going to give you a lifted and voluminous effect, the Bambi Eye Mascara is going to give you a little bit more of that separated fluffy lash effect. That's the best way I can describe it. Both of these mascaras are incredible. If you don't have them already, you must check them out. They're so good. All right, moving on to lips. I definitely knew exactly what lip liners I was going to talk about. The first one being the NYX Nude Suede Shoes lip liner. This is probably my #1 lip liner of the year. Again, drugstore and high-end included. It is amazing. This is the lip liner that I have all over my lips, and I've actually topped it with a gloss that I'm obsessed with. This was my go-to top lip combo, so I'll tell you once I get to the gloss. But Nude Suede Shoes, you guys, it's stunning. I normally don't really swatch things in these videos. I mean, I kind of do, but it usually takes a while, but I'm going to do it with this. This is so beautiful. It's the perfect pinky nude color. The other one that I fell in love with completely is also from NYX, and it's the lip liner in the shade Natural. Oh, I need to sharpen this. Okay, now that it's sharpened, let me swatch this one for you. I love both of these lip liners. They have been just amazing. So this one's a little bit more deep if you want a slightly more contoured looking lip. This one's gonna kind of just mute out the lips but still give it definition. But it's also not too light, this one. Anyway, love both of those so much. I got so much use out of both. They are incredible. My top two drugstore lipsticks, hands down, are these two right here. But my number one is the Maybelline Truffle Tease lipstick. I'm obsessed with this. I absolutely love it. I'm gonna swatch this for you as well. Truffle Tease is the perfect nude lipstick. It goes with so many lip liners. I know I've already raved about this so much this year. Also, the other one that I absolutely love is the shade Rosy Risk. Now this is a brand new one because I had to have my husband repurchase it since I actually gave the one that I had away. Like, that's how good it is. So this is Rosy Risk, such a gorgeous rosy shade. I love this one for everyday looks when I have something pretty subtle on the eyes, but I want that definition and that pop of pink, but in a natural way on the lips. Rosy Risk is the way to go. Another lipstick formula that I absolutely fell in love with this year is the Colourpop Luxe Velvet Lip Formula. Now, I know they actually had this last year, but I didn't really get into it until this year. So let me swatch this. I love the moussey consistency that this has. I think it wears so nicely on the lips. Here's this shade. I love this one. This is called Ingenue, and it is so beautiful. It's just that perfect nude color. Paired with either of these lip liners, it looks amazing. So I love that formula. You can't really go wrong with any color. Every color that I've tried, I've actually really enjoyed from them. And then my favorite pop of color lipstick actually was from you guys as well. I discovered this because of you, and it is incredible. Thank you again to everybody who told me about this. This is the Superstay Matte Ink from Maybelline in the shade Pioneer. When I tell you this is the most stunning red lipstick you will ever experience in your life, I'm not joking. The formula itself takes a while to get used to. If you've never tried these before, you got to kind of give it a chance. It's going to kind of feel pretty heavy on the lips at first, but if you just kind of put a thin layer on and just let it dry before smacking your lips together, it's going to last you all day through several meals. I love this. Not to mention it just kind of does something to the complexion foundation. When you wear this color, your teeth look whiter, your eyes look brighter. I don't know, it's magic. I love this so much, and I know so many of you guys do too. And again, thank you for telling me about this. It truly is amazing. All right, we're gonna move on to glosses, and these are from the drugstore, but honestly, truly, they're some of the best glosses I've ever discovered in my life. I love them. Starting off with this. I love this. I don't think I will ever not own this. This is from Milani. If you have not tried this yet, you have to. This is the Keep Full Nourishing Lip Plumper in the shade Champagne. This is the gloss that I'm wearing on top of the Nude Suede Shoes lip liner. That is all I have on my lips. It was my go-to nude lip this year. I still stand by this combo. It feels so high-end. I'm obsessed with the color. It's amazing. This is the most amazing formula. It kind of gives you that minty, plumping kind of a feel without being sticky, and it's not overly tingly kind of a plumping feel, if that makes sense. It's perfect. The color is perfect. It looks beautiful on its own, and I also left a layer on top of any sort of nude lipstick in the center just to give it that glossy pop and dimension. Incredible, obsessed. The second gloss that literally floored me is the one from Essence. I had heard about this and I did not understand the hype until I tried it this year. This is the Essence Shine 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 Wet Look Lip Gloss. I just got mine in this clear shade called Behind the Scenes. Wow, this is amazing. It's another one of those glosses that's not going to look sticky. The thing I'm obsessed with about this is it layers on top of products so nicely. You know how sometimes if you have a clear gloss and you put it on top of a lipstick, it kind of starts to break up underneath? Not with this one. This one literally is like a donut glaze on top of your lips. It smooths out the lip lines. It smooths out whatever lip color you have underneath, and it is incredible. It's not sticky, but it has insane shine and dimension. Plus it's from Essence, so it's literally like a couple bucks. You have to try this. Seriously, you guys, if you have not yet, I know a lot of you probably have, but if you haven't, you have to try that gloss. Just do it. Don't ask questions. Just go get it. I have also really enjoyed the Luxe Lip Oil Formula from Colourpop. Now, this is going to give you that kind of balmy effect. It's not super, super shiny, but if you just want a little bit of hydration and a little bit of a glow without something too sticky on the lips, this is the way to go. I think these are gorgeous on more of an everyday basis as well. The shade I got the most use out of is the shade called Skinny Dip. I think, again, this is something that layers beautifully on top of a lot of nude lip products. So I love that one. And then last but not least for glosses, these are incredible. I know a lot of people probably are going to put these in their yearly favorites videos, and there's a good reason for it. These are the Maybelline Lifter glosses. I bought 4 shades. I love them all. They're so nice and they feel and look really, really luxurious and high end. This is another kind of a gloss that doesn't give too intense of a shine. I feel like it's just right, and it's also not sticky in any way. I feel like it layers on top of other glosses beautifully. You can kind of incorporate it into your more glam looks on top of a lip liner and a lipstick, or some of the tones are so stunning, like this one in the shade Silk. This is gorgeous just on bare lips. So it really just depends on what you're looking for, but that's a formula at the drugstore that really does compete with high-end glosses in my opinion, and they're definitely worth checking out. The last thing on my list for the Best of Beauty 2020 Drugstore Edition is this setting spray right here. I've used this for longer than a year, I'm pretty sure, but I didn't put it in my last year's favorites, and I used it so consistently this year still that I wanted to put it in. It's the 4-3 Beauty Glisten Up Mist. I love this. It does spit a little bit, so just be aware of that. So hold it far away from your face when you're using it to set your makeup. With that being said, it has never ruined my makeup. So even though there might be a little water droplet, just take a fan or like give it some time to dry before trying to panic and, you know, wiping it away or something like that. I feel like this gives the skin such a gorgeous lit from within glow if you're into more of a dewy kind of a effect when it comes to setting sprays. I think you will love that. So there you have it, you guys. Those are my favorite drugstore products from the entire year. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like I said before, if you want to check out my 2019 favorites, I literally still use every single one of those products. I looked at the list again to make sure I wasn't repeating myself, and I had to like remove a lot of the things that I had on my list because I forgot that I had mentioned them last year. So if you want to know more recommendations in a certain category, definitely check out last year's favorites video. With that being said, again, I stand behind every single one of these products. They all receive my personal stamp of approval. I have put them all to the test, and so I would highly recommend any of these products to you guys if you're interested. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, stay tuned for my high-end version of this video, and then also my skin and hair and nails video coming soon as well. If you're new here, hi, my name is Allie, and I would love for you to join the family. You can do so by hitting the subscribe button, and if you're already a subscriber but you want to be notified on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, click on the bell after you subscribe and you'll get a notification every single time I post. That's it from me today. Again, I hope you guys have an amazing day wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Love you. Bye.